All right, good morning. I'd like to call to order the Pasco Board of County Commissioners Joint Cities County Workshop of February 1, 2023. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. Please rise for the invocation and pledge.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Present.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Here.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Here.
And also in attendance from the Dade City City Commission, James Shive,
Here.
Newt Nathy,
Present.
Scott Black, Ann Cosentino. Here. Angel Woodward. Here. From the St. Leo Town Commission, Donna DeWitt. Vincent D'Ambrosio.
Here.
James Pollock.
Here.
Curtis Dwyer. William Hamilton. From the San Antonio City Commission, Mark Anderson. John Vogel. Allison Cagle. Maximilian DeWater. Sarah Schrader. From the Zephyrhills City Council, Gene Whitfield. Jody Wilkerson. Lance Smith. Kenneth Burgess.
Here.
Alan Knight. Charles Crawford. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And our Provost, Dr. Davina Jones. She'll have some opening remarks. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here at the Porter campus. I think it's our first time hosting you here, and we salute you in the work that you do. We're just glad that you're here. We hope you come back. We've tried to make it very comfortable. Our faculty, staff, students are, of course, busy doing what we do, which is help people dream. And so we're delighted for your service. Welcome. Come again. Thank you so much.
Dr. Jones, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate being here and your hospitality. Your team is phenomenal. Thank you. Okay, before I get to the first topic of discussion, just to make it easy for all the record and everyone going, when you speak, if you would state your name, and it'll just make it easy for the clerk later on, for the record. Okay, so first topic of discussion, we have transportation and infrastructure.
Then we've got Dade City kicking it off.
Thank you. This is Leslie Porter, City Manager. We have 3 topics to update on this morning. The first is the Morningside Drive extension. The Morningside Drive extension is a project that will provide a connection from US 301 to Fort King Road. It will provide direct access to Advent Health Dade City and Pasco High School, as well as providing a bypass for the south side of Dade City between US 301 and State Road 52. The project is currently in design with Coastal Engineering. We are partnering with the county to facilitate that project and is very much appreciated for the assistance. We are working with Advent Health and other affected property owners. The permitting and design is scheduled for completion spring of 2024. We're concurrently working on the utility coordination, the permitting, and right-of-way acquisition. Construction is slated to begin in the fall of 2024 with an estimated completion in the spring of 2026. The 7th Street streetscaping project is another project we're very excited about. We'll be revamping 7th Street downtown from Florida Avenue all the way along to Pond Avenue. Elements of the streetscape will include natural traffic calming, new enhanced lighting, landscaping, and crosswalks. We're currently working with FDOT to blend the design where the 98-301 widening project will merge with 7th Street, and the timeline for those improvements is approximately 18 months. The final topic is the roundabout Now, this project will realign State Road 52 with a roundabout at the 5-point intersection of Meridian, State Road 52, St. Joe Road, and Swanee Way. The city received a state appropriation for the funding of this project. We are currently working with FDOT on design, and they currently have the project program for 2025 construction.
I have a question.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yeah, Commissioner Ron Oakley. Leslie, I've been watching that project with you because we're working hand in hand together on the Morningside Drive over from 301 to 52. The last I heard was there was only through about 30% of design. And I think we've had that, part of that money since 4 years ago, I believe. And I'm just curious if there's any way we can expedite and move that forward, because that's a long time having that money, and we're no further than 30% on that project.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have been working with Coastal as well as FDOT to see if we can expedite it. One of the possible delays that we think we have worked through is FDOT was thinking we may have to go on schedule with them, which would provide additional delays. We have confirmed just this week that we do not have to follow those additional regulations. So we've had conversations with the Coastal just this week to see how we can accelerate that project.
Okay, so FDOT saying that you had to go through a different process, but now you found out you don't necessarily have to?
Right, yes, some of the regulations that we thought we would have to follow as far as approvals and permitting, we will not have to go through that process. It should be more streamlined.
So
And
Pasco County, and I'm sure Dade City gets the same attention from FDOT, because FDOT and Pasco County work very well together.
yes, yes, we do. We have regular coordination meetings with them.
Okay.
And I see our Public Works Director is here. Do you have anything to add on that coordination and possibly being able to speed up the timeline?
Let's wait for a mic.
This is Jason Warrenfeldt, our Public Works Director.
I most certainly can check with them to see if the timeline can be expedited. Yesterday's meeting was super important to change their requirements as far as the connection point to 301. So after yesterday, going forward, we get our 30-day plans, we'll be able to see how quickly that can go forward.
Okay. So if you don't mind, I would like to reach out to Secretary Gwynn or some of his team to hopefully help expedite some of that. So they're very good to work with.
Yes,
so.
much appreciated. Thank
Yeah.
you, Commissioner.
Okay.
And Commissioner Murphy, thanks for that input. It's very important that this meeting, I think, coming together to talk about different projects and how we can work together to try to move things along and for the betterment of everything, so thank you. All right,
Before you move on, so when you want to talk, please make sure you have the mic close to you. We have handheld mics if I need to move them over. So anytime you'd like to speak, if you don't have a mic, I'll bring you one.
I had one question.
Yes, sir.
On working with the county, Ron, on the land acquisition. Name, Jim Shive, the city of Dade City. The land acquisition portion of I know you said we were about 30%.
Use the mic.
Seems like we ought to be a little further, but is it too early now to start talking to some of the property owners? It's my understanding there are about 3 properties that are going to be affected or impacted. At what time would we start having those discussions, Leslie, on that, the land acquisition?
We have had conversations with Advent Health, who is one of the property owners that is most affected, and we have waiting on the designs to determine the extent that the other property owners will be affected. So we'll be seeking the services of a right-of-way attorney to get that process moving once we see the final design.
Is that something the county could work with us on?
Yeah.
If you don't mind. Jeff Steinsteiner, County Attorney. Unfortunately, we are shopping a lot of our eminent domain out as well. So we had recommended that you use the same outside counsel that we would have to pay to do your project as a way to expedite the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So it's my understanding that the design has to be pretty well complete before you can go out and purchase property. Until the design's complete, you don't know who the property owners are that you would have to reach out to. And I've already spoken with Evans Properties and their family about part of that. And then I ran into some of the other owners, but there's, like I say, I don't think there's but 3 or 4 owners that you have to talk to. And Advent is kind of at the end of that when it crosses Fort King. And I've spoken to them before too, but I'll step up those areas and hopefully we can get something expedited to make this come to fruition. So, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Pasco County.
Good morning, Margaret Smith. First on our list here is State Road 52, and I'm happy to report this is the realignment and widening of 52 from Uradco over to 301. Happy to let you guys know that on February 17th, so in a couple weeks, we're going to be opening the first 2 lanes. And then by the end of the summer, we'll be opening the 4 lanes. So all good news there.
Margaret, question for you. Are we having a big grand opening for that? Are we having a big grand opening for that? Inviting state legislators, et cetera?
I believe there is going to be a grand opening. I think our Tampa Race team is working on it.
What date does that fall on, the 17th?
February, oh shoot, I don't know, hang on. It's on a Friday.
Okay, Friday's a good day. Very good.
Yeah, we haven't set that up yet, but we do plan to do a ribbon cutting, but we're working on that right now. We'll definitely be working closely with you, sir.
With our state legislators
Yes, sir.
invited down?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Very good. Okay, State Road 54.
Okay, State Road 54 from Curly Road to east of Morris Bridge, also a widening project, is about 73% complete and expected to be done again at the end of the summer. So we've got a lot of positive information here.
All right. And County Road 54?
County Road 54 is from 301 over, from Wire Road over to 23rd, right by Zephyr Hills High School, and we expect to have that completed by the summer of 23, this summer as well.
Okay. Question? Summer 23 this year?
Summer of 2023.
This is Seth Wakeman's County Commission District 2. With the realignment of State Road 54 in front of Saddlebrook and then as it meanders over to Wesley Chapel Boulevard. Sorry. What's the timeline through the acquisition of Wesley Chapel Boulevard for right-of-way and opening that section? I mean, it all kind of ties together. So.
We have just completed the right-of-way acquisition on Wesley Chapel Boulevard. So we're at the point of where we're going to start advertising and then going to construction.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very good. And go to trails, Margaret?
Going to let Sam or Trails
Sam, there's some
Guy.
microphones right there if you like.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Sam. I don't know why Margaret's hiding back there, but.
I think that there's, the Orange Belt Trail is the only trail that's specifically noted on here. Were there other questions, or do you just want to run through the projects?
It just had a spot for trails, so I didn't know if there was something for the county, but if you want, we then can move to the Orange Belt Trail. Keith?
I'll add something if you want. Certainly. On the Orange Belt Trail, we are underway with our public outreach portion. We've been getting really strong response from folks moving that PD&E study forward. We expect that we'll have another public meeting here late spring, early summer, where we'll show alternatives that have been developed based on that public involvement. And then by about this time next year, we would bring a completed study to the board with the conclusions and that alignment. We do have a couple of segments that are progressing independent of the study, such as along Trinity Boulevard, where there's no controversy, no acquisition necessary, and where the county really needs to have a pedestrian facility. We're also underway with the Withlacoochee State Connector Trail that there's a segment that aligns with Morningside. We're also using coastal design to connect the pieces there so that that can be ready to go when that roadway project is built. and the north segment is under design with Florida design consultants. Not quite ready to turn that over to right-of-way acquisition. We're still trying to minimize our impacts. We only have maybe 3 landowners that we would impact, and as little impact as possible would help expedite that project, because we know that's another one that's been kind of a long time in process. Be happy to answer any other questions as they come up. Mr. Wiley? Certainly, sir. The alignment that you're probably seeing is a conceptual alignment that was included in the penny for Pasco when that project was included as a specific project. But we are, the purpose of our 18-month plus study right now is to actually identify the correct alignments, locations, identify those safety issues that you highlighted, really work directly with the community and see what they'd like to see for the project. So we do have a concept that follows that rail alignment. Some locations, as you say, are along utilities, and we already talked about Trinity Boulevard. They're kind of locations where the county already has a need for a pedestrian facility independent of the Orange Belt Trail. But yes, we'd like to work with you and the other board members as we first identify alternatives for further study, and then, of course, come back to you as we identify what staff believes is the most appropriate alternative to make sure that y'all are comfortable with those as we move through the process.
Thank you.
Now, isn't it appropriate that Commissioner Starkey is here for the end of the trail conversation? So
Right on time.
We were just talking about the Orange Belt Trail. Just getting a summary, all good so far, but if you want to add something to that, then we're going to talk about Pasco Trails in a second with Keith Wiley.
So I was hoping to actually speak before you showed up, Commissioner, just to kind of keep the conversation short. So I just wanted everyone to know that the Parks Department is working on a countywide master plan for recreational, basically to define a recreational trail system. We're obviously talking to all the stakeholders, project management, MPO, cities. We had a lot of community outreach. The expected completion of that plan should be sometime in May. Now, the idea is to really be high level, to ultimately figure out, what our recreational trail system looks like. Ultimately, where should we be prioritizing these connections through greenways, existing, state and county-owned properties, and other hubs of concern. Not so much the transportation goal, more of the recreational goal, though. Sam and I both know, and Margaret, we all talk about how there are opportunities for those intersections of functional use to occur. But again, the primary focus of this plan will be recreation and nature. So I know Commissioner Stark, you've been to a couple of the kickoff meetings, and has been very vocal. But that's about all I have. I just want to let everyone know we're working on that, and we're excited to actually finally get started.
We have folks here from San Antonio and St. Leo, I would assume. So I'm trying to see if the person I met for lunch, Jay? I think Jack? It's not here. From San Antonio, your vice mayor. So if we're talking about the alignment for the Orange Belt, once it gets on the other side of 75, I know there was some angst at one of our kickoff meetings of what that alignment might look like. When I put it on the state map about 15 years ago when I was on the State Greenways and Trails Council, we just, pinged the abandoned railroad corridor line. And I know that some of that property has since been sold. So we just want to make sure that people on the east side know that it's not a literal line. But the goal is, once we get across 75, to make sure it finds its way to the Withlacoochee State Trail. But we're not going to be coming over anyone's house or driveway or anything like that. So it'll be more of a challenge once we get to the east side to figure that route out. But it's not the intent to be condemning anyone's property, but the goal is to get it to the Withlacoochee State Trail in the best way possible. Yeah.
To that point, I have received some calls from some folks who live on Marshall Down. I've heard that the commission overfilled. So
else on trails?
Well, and I did want to make sure that everyone has seen our Senate President's agenda, and it's also, I think, mirrored in the House of the goal to continue to build a really robust state trail system. When Senate President Andy Gardner was in office, he put $25 million aside to help build what's called the Sun Trail Network. And this year, we see an allocation coming from Senate President Pasadomo, where they doubled that and put more money in many other places. And so the state is really on board with building these trails of regional significance. So I think we'll have some more funding opportunities. That's exciting to see.
Any comments for trails?
I had one question. I know there's some discussion about.
Name for the record?
Thanks. Jim Shine. I had one question about the north end of Dade City. You know, recently we have a trail that goes all the way to Lock Street. From Lock Street to Trilby, along the old railroad right of way bed. Is there any connector plan for that on the north end?
Yes, sir. That's the north segment of the Withlacoochee Connector Trail. I believe it's 6 miles, and we're in design with Florida Design Consultants. That was a project I said we were minimizing right away, but that would connect the Withlacoochee State and your Hardy Trail, and then the southern segment with Morningside would connect your southern end of the Hardy to the existing 301 trail. So it'd be continuous from Zephyr Hills to the North County line.
Commissioner Starkey?
When I met with your vice mayor and speaking to some others who live on the east side, I think there is a realization of the potential of what this trail can do for your little downtowns. So if the trail does not come directly to the downtown San Antonio area and what could be the little downtown St. Leo, I think is looking at building, we would definitely want to be working with you to make sure there is a spur that comes down, because it will greatly benefit your restaurants and shops and communities, similar to, if you know, what the trail did for Dunedin and has done for some other small towns around the state. It's a huge economic benefit when they come into your little towns, so.
And if you'll permit me, and I think Diane may correct, but this was one of the most read news stories related to infrastructure in the last year, was our Orange Belt Trail announcement. So the public is definitely excited to see it.
And I'll say is, having gone out to Colorado, Boulder area, the activities, the trails out there are phenomenal. And Keith Wiley's from that area. Spent some time out there, so he knows what goes on, and it's driven their whole economy. My mother was living down in Dunedin for a while, and when I'd take her to lunch, we went to a little restaurant right off a trail that I can't tell how many bikers would stop, sit and have lunch. And I think if the location's not super close, but if there was a spur with some direction to downtown San Antonio, I think that will help to bring people in as well.
And one more thing on trails. I'm so glad I made it here in time. I think Keith mentioned that. So, one of the things that we're looking at, and I think, is Mr. Pitos here? Yeah, Terry, is that we want to have an overlay district kind of along the trail. I don't know what the appropriate width is, but to allow for certain kind of businesses to be able to come in easily. And we suggest maybe you guys think of that when it comes through your town, coffee shops, ice cream shops, things that, you know, small mom and pop entrepreneurial opportunities that trail users would enjoy. So it's a great opportunity for small business. I know our family opened up a little market and coffee shop and barn along the Starkey Gap Trail, and we get trail riders in from all around the country into our place. So the other day we had folks from the Rails to Trails Conservancy, a whole group of them come in on their bikes. They were all down from Tallahassee, so there you go.
Okay. All right, anything else for trails? Okay. Now we move to Zephyr Hills on Cossack Road, connection to Wire Road.
Yeah, Billy Poe, Zephyr Hills. Just looking for an update for Cossack Road. I know there's some comments. I think I have it. Just an update on Cossack. We're looking for some, I guess, the plans have been submitted, and so we're waiting on county comments. And I know that Ms. Smith and I had talked, I think a couple weeks ago. So just trying to get an update of where we are on that. And then the next one is the West 54. We had heard that the state was turning the road over to Pasco County, and so we are looking to do some work in our CRA, adding signage and things like that. And if it's imminent, we don't want to work on an agreement with the state if we know it's Pasco County jurisdiction soon. So just an update of when that might occur.
Yeah, Billy, as we discussed, the comments regarding the Cossack and the new connection to wire, that has been submitted. The comments from our group have been submitted to permitting. So you should be getting those. If you don't, call me. I think we talked about it. No surprises. And what was the other question? Yeah, as soon as we open, basically as soon as DOT finishes that widening, because right now that's a widening project, all the way over to Morrisbridge. And as soon as that's completed, we'll go ahead and it'll be transferred to us, all the way to 301. Yep. We're working with Zephyr Hills to get an agreement. Right now, your agreements for maintenance are related to are with the DOT. We're converting those to agreements with maintenance agreements with the county. So I don't know if you've seen them. I know we've talked about them with your team, but you probably haven't seen the updated version. I think they're being reviewed right now, so you should get them soon. So I think we'll need those before we complete the conversion. Okay. But it will be a county road.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. All right, utility service, right back to Zephyr Hills.
If I have John Cossack, our utilities director.
All right.
Yes, good morning. John Bostic, Utilities Director for the City of Zephyr Hills. Yes, over the past, I would say, 5 or 6 years or so, maybe, I think when Mr. Flip was in Mike's position a few years ago, I brought up something about the service area and trying to widen it, and also I'm going to touch on the purchases of the utility systems too. The service area, okay, thank you. The service area, as it currently sits, is just outside of city limits. I want for the city to expand it. I haven't proposed, but I haven't sent it. I think I sent it to the county and they have an idea, but it's not official yet. To just expand it and make it easier to see and understand, because there's so many little jagged lines around as the service area sits now, it'd be almost impossible to explain it. So we're trying to get it expanded and make it easier to see and for everybody else to understand. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep. Are you talking about our services as far as water? Are you talking about those services?
Water and sewer, yes.
Water and sewer. That's a good topic to talk about. I'm very concerned about the water for Zephyr Hills, and their process is different than that process of the counties or the Tampa Bay Water Project of way they treat water. So somehow we need to either get you, and I don't know if you've had this thought yet or gone through it, but you need to either maybe change your process of treating your water the same as ours so we can also help you get more water. And that would help the city in being able to provide water for their customers. So that's an important thing, and I don't know the cost of changing your way you treat your water, but something I think you're growing so much, I really think you need to look into that so you can be. I know you're getting some water from Dade City now, but this long term that might cut away because Dade City's growing at the same time. So it's very important on water. And I know where we can, I believe we're helping provide the water services, but county likes to provide water services, but I'm sure the city also likes to provide their own water service, so.
Correct. Yeah, we've not looked at changing the process, the treatment process. We have had conversations about the potential of purchasing some smaller, a well and a system, Pasco County system, that's in close location to the city. So those are conversations that we'd like to continue. I know Mike and I have talked, and John and the utilities team for Pasco. We're also in conversations with Dade City. We've had some preliminary conversations about the potential of sharing, purchasing water through that main line that runs along 301.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very important. All the cities that are here today are in my district, so I stay very much aware of what's happening in those cities, and I care about their water, their sewer, stormwater, all the issues you work at in your city. I also back you up to do the best thing for your city in my district. So I'm on board, so anytime you have something come up, reach out to me. I'm open, you can call me, so I'll be more than happy to lend a hand or help you also. And at this time, right now, at this time, I'm chairman of Tampa Bay Water, so if we can get help from them also, we can reach out to them.
I had a question, Mr. Oakley. Jim Shive, Dade City. I know we have a utility service agreement currently with Zephyr Hills. We probably need to look at that again and take a look at that. But I see there were some on your list was potential purchase of utility systems. I know in Dade City, as we expand our utility service area, there are some wells that are inside, that belong to the county. They're inside the city. Hickory Hills for number one. There's two 6 or 8 inch wells there. I would like to see the city and the county have discussions about taking over those, either those customers or those wells for future growth, that sort of thing, to kind of help provide additional pressure within the system, because we have a lot of growth coming in the southwest corridor of the city, and that may be advantageous if you look at the cost of having operators in the system. We already have an interconnect with Hickory Hill. I think it would be good to have some dialogue on that and bring that into the city as we're working at boundaries for annexation and utility service agreements. So looking very much, as you know, we all have a lot of unprecedented growth coming this way, with Florida being one of the fastest growing states in the country. So I think we all need to take a look at that. But thank you.
Commissioner Starkey.
As the cities are expanding, I'm just wondering if you are aggressively putting in reuse lines.
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Great.
We actually have it in an ordinance for anything new coming into the city. They must connect if it's reasonable.
So you're Zephyr Hills?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the utilities director for Zephyr Hills.
What about the other cities?
I believe Dade City is looking at some of the new development. We may looking at, I know that we have reuse out River Road, a lot of properties that way, the Everglades Ranch and other areas, but we are doing some reclaim. As far as existing developments that are in the city, it's kind of expensive to go ahead and retrofit those, but I'm sure we'll be having those conversations.
One thing I want to make sure, if I've got people on county water, county systems right now, if they're going to switch over, I want to make sure their rates aren't going to jump up going to the city rates, so I don't know where. But Mr. Allen, if maybe you can take a look and make sure our county folks are going to be protected, and if things happen down the road, but I want to make sure we're not hurting the people that are there right now for these transitions.
I think part of the issue with that, I completely understand that concern. Our rate structure are different as far as the STEP program. So from 5,000 gallons per day, or excuse me, per billing cycle and less, I think we're close. So I think that's part of the conversation. We have to look at what those rate structures are, because I think Zephyr Hills is the first 2 tiers were less expensive, but as you use more water per month, that's when our prices increase. So I think that's a conversation that we have to look at. But I completely understand that concern.
Okay, and I think we can work together to kind of figure it out, but going forward, and I think Commissioner Oakley brings up a great point, making sure we're all in the same system would be good as well. When you talked about purchase of utility systems, how many private utility systems do you have out there?
As it pertains to Pasco County, I think there's 4. There's 2 larger ones and 2 smaller ones. We have probably, I can think of 2 right off the top of my head, but I know there's more. There's 3 right off the top of my head of private systems in the city. And I've actually talked to a couple of them about connecting to city services.
Yeah. I think that in the long-term growth, the best, I mean, the west side of Pasco County had major troubles with utilities for many, many years. I mean, terrible water, terrible service, terrible rates. We had the FGA come in, take it over. We've taken over a few systems, Lindrick, Aqua. One of them was tied to, not Mad Hatter yet, but even the Aqua system was part of Zephyr Shores. So I think probably an optimum time to actually take a look at this, because if we can take those private systems over, bring them into the city or the county, whatever, I think it's going to be better for the long-term growth. When the PSC regulates it, you lose control. Anything can happen over and over again. So I think consolidation is something, it's working, I think, better for the west side now. The people that have come into our systems have saved a whole bunch of money, improved quality of life, which increases value and certainty of what people are going to get for water quality. So happy to work with you. I think Senator Burgess would be a great asset up in Tallahassee, trying to, if could be, to improve legislation so that, let's say if a private utility system is going to sell the system, there's no law in place right now that says they've got to make an opportunity for, let's say, first right of refusal to the municipality close by. But I think with Senator Burgess, he could probably make that happen for us. And, you know, I sat in the water, wastewater utility study group a few years back. That was one of the suggestions that didn't get implemented by state. But if you wanted to work together to try to go that way, I think if we did it through the whole county, we could probably make something like that happen and make it easier for these potential purchases coming up, make it easier to happen.
Yes, agreed. And the utilities I have spoken with have not been interested in selling at this time.
Yeah.
I tried.
But in case I ever do, I mean, I'll give you an example. Up in Hudson, there was a Bob Bammon that owned the Hudson Water Works up there, Hudson Water Utility System. And when he sold it, we tried to buy it from him, but the private utility system was able to offer him more money than our administrator at the time wanted to go spend, and utility director, so we couldn't make that happen. But what's happened is it's been bought 2 more times since then. Had we had first right of refusal, it could have been a better situation. And even with a new one that just happened again, it's a difficult battle. So I think at least getting in position for when it does happen for the right time, you're in position so they can't just go sell it to somebody else when you didn't even have a shot at it.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Mr. Waitman.
Hey, general question for the municipalities that are here. Do y'all incentivize septic to sewer conversions, transitions? Because it's expensive, right? But it's important that folks tie in to transmission lines. So how are y'all working through that?
So we have not, the city of Zephyr Hills has not incentivized, but we do require, if a line becomes available within X number of feet to a couple hundred feet, then they're required to tie in. But at this current time, we do not have an incentive.
Yeah, I don't believe we currently have any incentive. There, as Billy says, we have an ordinance if you're in so many feet within the city utilities and you need to connect. I think the county goes along with the county ordinance too. What I'd like to see too is on another issue is that on the annexation, we have a lot of parcels in Dade City between our south end of town all the way to Clinton Avenue along our commercial corridor that we have pockets of county commercial properties there that, you know, they should be in the city. We should maybe work on some kind of annexation plan where we can include those parcels because it makes it very difficult for responders, first responders, police, the sheriff, and all that to oversee those, respond to those. So I'd like to have that as part of the discussion too. But right now we don't have an incentive, but we are. Everybody has to connect to sewer, you know, with the new developments and stuff. So
there may be some opportunities with what they call Pot 2 money with the BP Restore Act to actually try to look at septic to sewer. We're looking at doing one up at Sea Pines right now. Elfers has been looked at as well to try to make some things like that happen. So there are opportunities that you might want to take a look at coming up. It's called Pot 2 money with the BP Restore Act Committee, the council. And the Pot 2 money goes through the state, and the state takes a look at what projects are good. So it'll take some study, but if you've got an area that maybe hasn't hooked up as much as you wanted it to, or maybe there's a extension you want to go put out there and there's a lot of septic, it may make it a lot easier for the people to jump in and make that happen, and you could get some funds out that way. If you want to reach out to Colin Weaver, my assistant, my aide, should be happy to give you information and help you direct. But Alan's pretty familiar with him as well, so. Alan, raise your hand. Alan's a good person to talk to as well. Okay. Anything else for utility systems? Okay. Community centers, parks, Dade City.
Thank you. Leslie Porter. So we have two community centers we'd like to share updates with you on today. The James Irvin Civic Center is located in Naomi Jones Park. It was built in the 1960s and has served its useful life. The city is currently partnering with the county. We're conducting a feasibility study for park facilities in East Pasco County. One of the deliverables from that study will be a schematic design with preliminary engineering and landscape planning for a new community center. We would hope to continue our partnership with the county, providing the recreational services. Currently, the county offers the programming there, as well as at our armory. We don't have the staffing at the city level to do that. And we've been working very closely with Mr. Wiley and open to any questions on that. The second park I'd like to brief you on is the parkland that the city owns along the Hardy Trail in downtown Dade City. We've been working to bring that park to its full potential. This month, we received bids to construct a splash pad along with restroom facilities. We're analyzing that and we'll be presenting to our commission to consider award next month. Also, with the help of a Small Cities grant, we will be constructing an accessible playground this year. Very excited about that. Future planned amenities at that site will include an amphitheater as well as nature trails.
Very good. Any questions or comments? All right.
I would just like, this is
Angel Woodard.
Angel Woodard. I would just like to definitely stress the importance of why we are trying to construct a new facility. And you know, most of the time people just kind of broadly put out that information. But when you have a building that's been built in 1960 and one addition to that building took place in 1992, and it is not sufficient for the community. We don't have anywhere on the east side of the county on a cold night to even open up to bring our homeless in. We don't have anywhere on this side of the county during the COVID crisis to hold funerals. This is vitally important that we stand together and move forward to create a community center. One of the biggest things that I hear over and over again is we have nowhere for our children to go, and that needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was looking at the infrastructure bill yesterday, and the amount of money that the feds have allocated for many projects. And I'll be talking to my administrator, because I don't think we have one ask in this massive infrastructure bill. And but looking at the opportunities, it seems to me that your civic center fits right in with an opportunity to get some federal funding for that. So you might want to look at that.
Sounds like an even better partnership for Leslie to work with us. Okay. Any other comments?
Actually, Leslie, if you don't mind, you said it was an east side study. Is that specific to Dade City, or are the other east side cities included?
I think Mr. Wiley is in charge of overseeing that with the county. He's probably the best suited to answer that.
Yeah, so the actual service area is basically a 5-mile radius, so it does not roll into the city of Zephyr Hills. It pretty much cuts out midway between Dade City and Zephyr Hills. We felt that that area needed to be focused on first. I know I've talked to the city manager for City of Zephyr Hills about the possible partnership of some additional recreational opportunities in his jurisdiction. And I think he's possibly going to bring that up here soon, so hopefully that answers the question.
Any other thoughts? All right, let's go to St. Leo's Town Center.
Good morning. Vincent D'Ambrosio, Mayor of St. Leo. And I apologize, this is my first time in the setting, so I was waiting for him to say St. Leo into the trails, so I'm going to touch on the Orange Boat Trail just a little bit. So for the town of St. Leo, we appreciate the county and the county commissioners for your efforts to bring trails and pathways to St. Leo community. Regarding the Orange Belt Trail, we are aware that the old railroad bed now routes through established private property. We'd be happy to help assist with educational efforts and offer feedback about any alternative routes. You also may be familiar that the St. Leo Abbey Church is known as the church that Orange Juice built. So it kind of ties into that name, and they just celebrated their 75th year consecration anniversary of that building. If the trail ends up being routed along the existing State Road 52, we feel that that would be a great tie-in with that and with the town of St. Leo. So in other words, we support the trail coming through St. Leo, and we're happy to work with you in the efforts of that trail. And on the town center, we're excited, the little gem in Pasco County known as St. Leo, we're trying to expand on that a little bit. We're excited to have the unusual opportunity to create our own town center. Right now, currently, we don't have a town center. The concept plan that the town commission voted to create will be presented at our workshop on Tuesday, February 14th. We'll be hosting it at our community partner, St. Leo University. At 6 p.m. is a workshop. 7 p.m. is the town meeting, which at that time, the commissioners will have an opportunity to vote on the concept plan that will bring a town center to the town of St. Leo. The creation of the town center would not be possible without Penny for Pasco funds, so I want to thank Penny for Pasco for that. And what this town center will do, it'll bring a community space to the town of St. Leo. Right now, we're known as St. Leo University. We're a town as well, so we're trying to bring an identity as a town of St. Leo. So in that town center, you'll see a lot of different things going on. Beautiful botanical gardens that are honoring the history of the town of St. Leo. There will be a history center, a cultural center within that town center. Obviously, there will be some retail establishments with a multi-use building for farmers markets, flea markets, and so forth and so on. So we'd like to invite Commissioner Oakley or any commissioners to our February 14th meeting if you'd like to view the concept plan. Again, thank you for this opportunity.
And I apologize to mean to slight you, as I mentioned the Orange Belt Trail. I should have said St. Leo, but not to slight you. My daughter went to St. Leo, and I will tell you the education she got there was phenomenal. The campus there was tremendous, and I think when you get such a great college as an asset for a town, that you should expand on it every step of the way. So looking forward to great things coming up.
Yes, sir. I also had the privilege of being employed at St. Leo University for the last 14 years.
It's a true asset to Pasco County, so we're glad to have it there. Commissioner Wakeman.
Just to comment on your town center, was a topic I brought up for discussion in our last board meeting. Creating downtown spaces for all the growth that's coming. What are folks going to do for fun, and what are they going to do for business? So really think big and challenge your commission, your councils. I really challenge you to think, what are good examples? Newport Richey, Dade City, downtown Zephyr Hills. Our downtowns in Pasco County are coming back to life. So I just urge everybody to not be short-sighted and don't short yourself with the footprint and economic development and the entrepreneurial spaces, that can be created because we have a customer base that we've never had before in Pasco County. So you kind of got one shot at it these days, right? And everything coming in. So I just urge you to think big and be creative and create some really unique spaces that build upon our Pasco identity.
Commissioner.
What's up?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm curious, are you using a planner or a consultant that's familiar with building great spaces?
Yes, ma'am. We're using 12th Street Studios out of Tampa.
Okay. And, I would encourage you to look at, making sure it's very pedestrian friendly. And one of the things about town centers, little towns that make them real viable is density around that core. So it's something you got to be prepared for. And on the trail around on 52, there will, for the most part, the state is building, all their highways have a multi-use path on one side and a sidewalk on the other. We have a little hiccup on part of 52 Clinton Avenue Extension, but but there will be one on 52. And but there will also be the orange belt. They won't necessarily be one and the same, but there'll be a link. And one of the big thing that people who are out recreating on trails like is a circle and a circuitous route. So there'll hopefully be lots of spurs and links coming in your area. We plan it right.
Commissioner Oakley?
Commissioner Ron Oakley. So the town center for the city of St. Leo, that's going to be on the University of St. Leo property?
No, sir. It's on the corner of the now existing State Road 52, which will eventually become County Road 52. It's right there on the corner at the caution light and traffic light between St. Leo and San Antonio. So it's on.
Where that roundabout is going to come, right there at the Jiffy store from there.
Yes, sir.
back.
Across from that, if you know where On Q Barbecue is right now currently.
Yeah, right.
That whole corner property is the town purchased.
Okay. Well, I'm welcome to join you in discussion and all and work through that with you and give you whatever help we can give you and insight on things that will help the city of St. Leo. So be more than happy to join you. So reach out to my office and let me know when you want me maybe to come to a council meeting or just have a meeting together.
Yes, sir.
And
Appreciate that.
that'll be good. So thank you.
And I think that's a great opportunity, especially when my daughter would tell me they would drive here to there to go to different places. And I'm sure the students at St. Leo would love to have a place, a little center they could just walk right to and stay right there. And that might increase them to stay more on campus as far as back and forth as well. So you got a great opportunity in front of you.
Yes, sir. And we took that in mind and we've talked and collaborated with students and both students and personnel in the university. So we were very mindful when we went into this project that we touch every entity and every bit of the history of the town of St. Leo, so it includes all areas of the town of St. Leo. So you'll see in the town center, if you come to the meeting on the 14th in the concept plan, you will see the history of the Abbey Church and the Holy Name Monastery and the university there, as well as the founders, some of the founding residents of the town of St. Leo. So we've included that. We were mindful of all that. But we also want to include in our most recent census, 91.8% of our population comes from the university, the Abbey Church, and the monastery. So we wanted to make sure that they played an impactful role in that decision as well.
Excellent. Sounds
Great, yeah.
Any other comments from St. Leo?
I have a comment, Mr. Chair. I'm a proud alumni of St. Leo. I went there when it was called a college. Before it was a university, before they had an internet, it was a weekend. It was a weekend school for me. We spent a lot of time out by the lake, and I would like to think studying there for the last couple of years of my journey in education opened my eyes, and I think that's one of the reasons why I ran for office, is I want to give back, and St. Leo is. The university is a very special place. It's a new generation. Anything that I could be helpful with Commissioner Oakley and others, sign me up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next we'll move to Zephyr Hills Regional Park, Eastside Recreation Center.
Billy Poe, Zephyr Hills. As Mr. Wiley said, we spoke, I don't know, I guess it was about a year ago with his team in Public Works for Zephyr Hills about the possibility of a rec center located at one of the parks in Zephyr Hills. But we've had a lot of citizen comments about a pool. I know when I was in Dade City, there was always, the conversation about a pool. We see such large growth on the east side of Pasco and the development of Pasadena Hills. The question has come up several times about the possibility of a regional park on the east side of Pasco, possibly along 301, so that both Zephyr Hills, Dade City benefit from it, and St. Anne, St. Leo, and just kind of want to talk about that a little bit, or at least get it on someone's radar to have a conversation about.
Commissioner Whitman. Thank you. Yep, Mr. Pope, this is an exciting part of this meeting, part of one of my priorities. I've met with Kathy and Keith, and, east of 41, there is no, other than the YMCA and St. Leo, there is no community pool. We have two others that are successful on the west side of the county, Land O'Lakes, and Newport Richey has a rec space that is really, really successful. And we're known as the sports coast, right? And so we have competition swimming, but we also live in Florida, and there's a body of water every X amount of feet. And folks moving into our county, they need to know how to swim. It's a quality of life and safety factor, and I've expressed these concerns with staff. And 100% wholeheartedly supportive of some sort of recreational center with an aquatics component, a significant aquatics component to it, to capture everything that you're talking about. There's some spaces, Kathy's here if she maybe wants to touch, or Keith, that we have identified. It might behoove the county and the municipalities who want to be a part of it to maybe go invest on it together versus having competing spaces, and really maximize the funds in this endeavor. So I'll leave it there.
Commissioner Ron Oakley, we've got a huge park going to be in the villages of Pasadena Hills, already planned out. I don't know the exact acreage, but it's 250 acres or more for a lot of activities, which we all know that we're kind of behind the 8 ball on getting more and more. We're growing so fast, got so many kids we need to service in all of our county, and we need more. We've got demand for more and more fields. And in talking with Keith here the last couple of weeks about different things, he mentioned to me something about a pool, and I'd like Keith to actually address that or speak to that. So, but it's a good
Keith Wiley,
thing.
Parks
All these things happening are in my district. So
This is, I feel like this is Parks Day. This is exciting for me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just a couple points of detail. So yeah, there is plans to move forward with Super Park at Village Pasadena Hills, which is that 20,000 acre planning district. Fortunately, I think it's the first project that we're ever actually going to have. I'm hesitant to say 100% funding, but we got pretty close to 100% funding to get this thing off the ground. As we obviously add elements and amenities like community pools and things like that, we have to figure out what that will do to the total cost of the project. But we have enough to start the planning process, to go out for a request for qualifications to start that. Since it's going to definitely be over a $5 million project, we're going to have to go out to bid for that. And I had talked to Commissioner Waitman about this, and actually other commissioners, about the real strong desire of my team to address the aquatic needs on the east side of the county. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be, at least my recommendation would be, that's the home base for a community pool, community center. I had also told my commissioners that I think it's an outstanding opportunity to talk to the school board about the possibility of a partnership, because the two pools that the county does operate, we see a lot of activity from the high school swim teams, and I think, quite honestly, I think they have some skin in the game. So, hopefully maybe an additional partner possibly on the horizon, I think is a great thing. Let's see, what else am I missing? I think that there's also, to address the planning issue for City of Zephyr Hills, the reason we didn't actually include that area like we're doing in Dade City is the Parks Master Plan in 2015. We felt pretty adequately addressed that area and its needs. It's a little more complicated in the northeast side when you have VOPH coming online, Burks Park, Stanley Park, James Irvin, Trilby. So we wanted to make sure that if we were going to make a recommendation to the BCC on funding, we wanted to know where we should be putting the capital investment ultimately for parks facilities. But if there's a need to maybe take a deeper dive in that part of the county, I'm happy with permission of the board to do that. But yeah, I'm just excited to hear the desire and interest to get an aquatic center. I think it's really important, and I'm also really excited to hear about the interest in parks in general. Obviously, it's what I do, and I think we all can agree that they're essential services. So I'm here for any other questions.
Mr. Stark.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe it's an appropriate time to talk about funding, because our Parks Department has been massively underfunded since we had the Great Recession. And when we did our big cuts, this is long before, well, you might have been there, I don't know, but the parks and the libraries were massively cut when we had to scale back. So Keith is still recovering, and we're way behind. If you know the growth in the central and the west side of the county, the first complex with multi-use fields that came in was at Starkey Regional District Park. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the first in 30,
Yeah.
25, 30 years. or so.
30 years. I mean, we had all that growth in those 30 years, and we're still building those fields. So, I mean, we are getting hammered by parents with kids and soccer, we're wanting to play soccer. And we know we do not have the capacity for all those kids to play here. But, so Keith, will you talk briefly about the funding hopes that we have coming up?
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner. So last fall, the BCC approved an introduction to increase the parks impact fee. We hadn't done that in over 20 years. The proposal was we got a nod to move forward with that. And the idea there is that we're going to take the single-family fee from $891 to approximately $3,500 or $3,600 per unit. We're going to do away with the multifamily, roll everything into one unit. I'm looking at Mr. Carballa now. I'm hoping this is a safe conversation, but it's important because obviously we're going to start the adoption schedule this year with an effective date January 1st of 2024. We have the support of the Tampa Bay Builders Association because honestly, parks are really important. I've spent the last 2 weeks, as Commissioner Starkey pointed out, quite honestly trying to figure out how we handle more users than actual facility space. It's a problem that's not going to go away, whether it's aquatics, whether it's field use, whether it's court use, whether it's pickleball courts. I mean, so if that moves forward, which I'm hoping that it will, what we did was we did a capital plan approach, not a consumptive approach to the impact fee. We said we had a master plan. We did some additional supplemental analysis. We said this is what the citizens need to address all the park services through 2045. We attached a price tag to that. We built in inflation over a 15-year term. And so the idea of revenue projection based on the increase would go from the current rate over a 15-year period of $50 million to around $300 million. So that's a huge increase. Quite honestly, I know it's not like infrastructure stuff in terms of utilities or transportation, but in the parks world, that's a tremendous increase. So my last thought on this is that obviously impact fees, those of you who are all up there understand this, it's going to take time for that money to come in. So obviously there's a lag in development, there's going to be a lag in revenue collection. I would like to hope that we can maybe identify some key projects and pursue a bonding. I know that impact fees cannot actually be bonded by statute. Mr. County Attorney behind me can agree to that, but there might be other ways to get that done. We did it similar to at Starkey Ranch District Park. We knew we needed 9 fields. We only had 3 built. We asked the board to go out for a bond on that. Instead of waiting 10 years, we got them built in 2. So kind of rambling at this point. Good news for parks, just going to take some time to get things started.
So if you followed that, which probably y'all didn't, but I voted no when this came up in front of the county commission because in my mind we didn't go far enough. And I've been advocating for more parks for, 20 years, my husband and I. And I think we are too far behind to allow us to get to where we need to be by just impact fees. So I have been advocating alongside of that for an MSTU, which would be a countywide fee for everyone to pay $10, $15, $20 a year. It's something where that money we can bond, and we would start collecting that right away and wouldn't be dependent upon how many houses we build that year. And so we could get started because we are, in my opinion, way too far behind. Thank you.
one of the things, funding is the key to getting stuff done. So let me ask this question. Does either of the cities, any of the cities, have any impact fees in place for growth coming in?
We have transportation impact, utility connection fees, and park fees.
Okay. What's Zephyr Hills?
Sorry, Zephyr Hills.
Commissioner,
city?
the city collects ours, just so you know that. The city of Dade City collects the park, and we have an agreement in place at interlocal for them to collect the county's park impact fees.
Okay. And no other agreements with the other cities?
No.
Okay.
In addition to that, we have a very small park recreation fee that we collect. We also do have the impact fees for water, sewer, and transportation.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Newton Athy, Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Dade City. I just had a couple questions for Mr. Wiley. Mr. Wiley, first of all, thank you very much for all of your work on helping us in Dade City and in Northeast Pasco on the feasibility of new parks in our area. Just a couple questions. Regarding a pool, so is there currently a community pool planned for VOPH, or is that just, that would be the logical place for it?
So I think it's a logical place. Initially there was a discussion about the need for a regional facility, so there's two needs. There's definitely a community need on the east side. I think that's obvious when you know we don't have one outside of maybe the one at the university. So there's no community access. But then on the regional scale, I think there's a strong need to be able to have a facility. And I don't want to speak for DMO or tourism here, but we talk a lot. So I'll say that there's a strong need for a facility that can host regional, state, national level kind of aquatic facilities. So I'm kind of answering your question and giving you additional info. But so the direct answer to your question is yes. From a community pool perspective, VOPH is what we planned ultimately for that location.
And so St. Leo has two pools, and then we're going to be building a splash park. City of Zephyr Hills has a splash pad, and then the Y also has a community pool. But the pool you're saying that would be planned for VOPH would be something for more than just casual sort of recreational swimming. This would be something for like sports competitions?
So that yet to be determined. I think there's been discussions about the possibility of the larger facility being located someplace else that may make more sense and have more synergy with what the Sports Coast is doing.
So I guess my other question would be, how would it be paid for? Because I know that you can buy access to either St. Leo pool. Obviously, you can get a membership to the YMCA and go. So if obviously, if it's going to be free, I'm sure there's tremendous demand for a free access pool, but I imagine that the pool wouldn't pay for itself at that point. So if we're going to have a pool that we're going to charge a fee that's competitive with the three other pools that are on the east side, how would we go about determining the feasibility of having a new pool there and making sure that it would be competitive and that would actually see use?
All good questions. Commissioner Waitman, did you want to jump in?
Well,
So, our goal, at least through the county, has been for a long time to make sure that we provide affordable access to these recreational opportunities. It would really be the board's decision to decide ultimately what kind of fee structure they want to set. I'll tell you that the Parks Department's operating budget, and I'm probably going to hurt myself by saying this, but the department's operating budget is $22 million, and we don't bring in anything near close to that in revenue. And I think that's because the thought is through basic taxation that you're expected access to some level of recreation, correct? So, but the ultimate decision rests with the board if they want to make something more of an enterprise, which we have not done yet in the parks arena. That's something that we can look at, but obviously it lowers the access. My recommendation to the board would be, let's do what we need to do to make sure you have equitable access for all members of the community. I don't think you can say that for the Y and for the other locations that you had pointed out.
Okay. Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you, Commissioner Anthony. Great questions, and we've had park staff, robust dialogue over this since we've taken office. On the east side, east of Fort Rowan, we're really fortunate because we have the 300-acre park and villages at Pasadena Hill, but we also have the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Complex that has an additional 160 acres. So, but that's a little bit further west than to the municipality. So, we're exploring options for the not just for community and recreational, but for the competitive aspect of it, sports tourism. So that's really the unique position that we're in this east side area. Is there's two potential opportunities to take a look at and make the decision that's what's best, because there's two different needs and two different industries really that I think that need served and can bring Pasco's sports tourism and competitive nature, what we're doing to the next level. So when we're discussing this, know that there's two potential sites, both complicated in their own way, but it's just a unique opportunity that we have with kind of the blank slate sort of Pasadena Hills, and not too far away the diamond that we have in the Wesley Chapel Sports Campus.
All right. Keith, I'll just ask you a question, and I'll just go back to, as Commissioner Starkey mentioned, when parks and libraries back in 08 got cut like 30%. It was a huge hit. A lot of maintenance got deferred that Keith has identified, et cetera. And that was a big, big blow to set us back a bit. Keith, at the time, we're going to just close the Groves Pool down on Holiday. And instead what happened was not only did it close, it got filled in. So it got ruined. Unbeknownst to myself as commissioner, and I don't think the commissioners I knew it was going to happen, which is very bad. What happened to the Zephyr Hills pool? Because that was a big topic.
So just for clarification, I was not here. And I think if I was here, I would be arguing with you not to cut 30%, but and I know Ms. Pearson would feel the same. Billy might have some insight to that.
So that was at Hercules Park. That facility has been completely demolished and removed.
Yeah.
So now it's an open space that's being redeveloped. The city's investing right at $5 million for a splash pad, trails, open space pavilions, playground, restroom facilities, kind of like a trail hub or trailhead.
So to get this straight, you demolished a pool, but you're asking for a pool. Let's make sure I get it right.
I was not here either.
I just went with that, Billy. That was easy.
Commissioner Stein, County Attorney Steinschneider.
I was here during that time period. When the board made the decision to close it due to operational constraints, that property had a reverter back to the school board. The school board took it back over and then surplus the property. So, or surplus at least that corner, which now has commercial development on it. So the county didn't hang on to the property because the school board exercised its reverter and
Right.
used it for other revenue generating purposes.
Right, okay. So
I wasn't on the school board.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I believe Commissioner Woodard has been
Okay.
trying to get your attention.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Angel Woodard, I have had numerous conversations with you, Mr. Wiley, and I just want to make sure to say that the Pasadena Hills, I do feel that that is an awesome project. One of my concerns, and I want to make sure that I'm very vocal in this, is transportation to get there. So when you have the little child that wants to swim that lives in La Coochie, how are we going to get them to Pasadena Hills? When you have the child that is, in Zephyr Hills, how are we going to ensure that we have the transportation that are going to hit, especially those that are in the poverty areas that don't have that transportation to get there? So I want to make sure that we keep that as a key priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Another question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to say I appreciate all the work you all are doing. I know you got a tough job here, but on the east side, I want to give what Commissioner Woodard said. When More Macons was shut down, there was a lot of educational opportunities, activities, and that sort of thing that went away. There are a lot of families that need, a lot of low-income families that need an opportunity here. So I hear what you're saying about the competitive aspect of it with the swimming, but and the city's committed quite a bit of ARPA funds to help build this center. So I certainly hope that we address those needs of the families that need be able to get there and have access to. So just want to say that. that center, we really appreciate you all working with us on that.
So let me ask you a question. With the boys club out in Lakuchi, is there room out there for a pool?
You know, it looks like it would be to me, but, you know, when we look at the land, but in all honesty, I'm not sure about the construction of what it would take, but it does look like we have that capacity. Part of the problem is that one of the contracts that is designed, so the Boys and Girls Club, many members of the Lakuchi area thought that that would be a place of recreation after hours, but that's not the case. So the Lakuchi Boys and Girls Club serves basically as a daycare once school is out, and then at about 6 o'clock, those doors are closed. And that's Monday through Friday and not open on the weekends. So I don't feel that we're utilizing even that in its fullest potential to offer those services that we need. And when you look at a building that is constructed like that and it's only open until 6 p.m., you know, we're not getting the potential that we need out of that building.
I tell you, I think there's an opportunity here. And then Keith, like, maybe go look at doing some programming there and kind of like do a partnership, interlocal, whatever it may be. But yeah, the building is in a great spot, could service a lot of kids. I think something we should, let's go take a step and have that conversation.
Yeah. May I?
Sure.
Yeah, so I agree with you completely. We've talked about this many times. I think there's an opportunity to look at that agreement that's with the county, open it up a little bit, and quite honestly hold someone accountable to the original intent of what the programming was supposed to be. So that analysis that we talked about, that Ms. Porter talked about earlier, I think one of the end products of that will be looking at that agreement to see how can we modify the existing programming package we have there without maybe necessarily adding any capital expense. It might be some operational expense from maybe the county needs to lean in with some operation dollars to provide some programming out there themselves, but I agree with you completely, and I think that's something that we need to address as well, and will, most likely.
And I think we've got probably the best cooperative electric company on the planet working with us with Lakuchi, so we can probably work with them, and I'm sure they'll work with us. Commissioner Waitman, you were going to show me something there?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I believe West Coochie River Electric owns that property, and I think they've leased for $1 for 50 years or something, and that, I met with Sherman Milton yesterday, who's taken over, I guess he's chairman or president of the Boys and Girls Club, and they're revamping the board. Mike Wells is on the board, and others, so they're really revamping what they're trying to do and bring this, you know, increase the level of service to the kids in Lakuchi. You know, I think they did a painting project out there, but it's definitely a good-hearted team effort to bring, you know, new life back into the Boys and Girls Club of Lakuchi. So definitely worthwhile to have conversations with, since there is county leadership on that board. So, and obviously with Coochie River Electric, great partner in everything we do in Pasco County, and so it'd be important, you know, get their take on it as well.
Excellent. Commissioner Starkey.
So I'm curious, so that's property owned by Withlacoochee Electric, and and the programming is being run by us?
No, so it's a
Okay.
multi-party agreement, so property owned by the county, building constructed by multiple parties,
Yeah.
operated by the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, so is the daycare being run as a for-profit enterprise or not-for-profit, or
And I
are the
think
kids
it's-
being charged?
I
or
think
what's
it's being
going-
run underneath whatever requirements that organization has.
So it is, Angel Water, it is being run up under the Boys and Girls Club. So there is a fee that is charged, but again, that fee is based on income. So it is feasible. If a family can only afford to pay, you know, $2, then it's only $2. If a family can afford to pay, you know, $20, then that family is charged that. But it's
Okay.
based upon income
Well, I
and
sure would
household.
like to see that be more than it is, than just a daycare, for sure.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Oakley.
Commissioner Ron Oakley, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows that out there at the Boys Club, when we built that over the years, a lot of people were giving money and donating money for that project. and it has been mostly a daycare, but they have facilities there for basketball and some other things there outside and inside the building, and other functions they have there too. But so that you know, in the northeast rural area out, including Trilby, Lacucci, and Trillacucci, all of that area is right now under going toward a 50-year plan for the rebuilding of Lacucci. So it's been sitting idle since the plant shut down 64 years ago. So that's all coming in. We've already got 2 businesses out there. We are expecting to have another business coming there soon. And as we do that, do workforce housing. We had a school there that was close to being shut down because only 50% of people were there. When we do this, those people and kids will come back and we'll have a full school rather than one that's just partially being used. So a lot of good things are happening in that area. And along with that, I think we'll be looking at recreation and things that'll help. I believe through Go Pasco, we have the ability to transport Lacucci to Dade City back and back. And I think they just have to look at the routes and have that all worked out. But I think that can happen. I think that can happen from there to Zephyr Hills at the same time. But you would rather those trips be closer than further away. So we need facilities there in the Lacucci area. And I think in time that's going to come. But the problem I always have with government is we have a lot of great ideas, and we have not the money collected to do them, and it just takes more time to get them done. Once we get there and get that done, as you can see, that growth comes, we've got a beautiful project going, and it's going to be amazing what Lacucci is going to be like in the future. So I'm really excited about what that's going to turn into, and I think it'll help solve some of the issues. The only problem is it's not going to be 6 months from now. It's going to be some years from now. So I'm like you. I want them to be able to play and enjoy recreation wherever they are, if it's Lacucci, Dade City, or Zephyr Hills. So I certainly open to whatever we can have. There's so much going on in my district, and my district takes on pretty much 50% of the mass of Pasco County. And these guys will tell you, I'm always telling them, y'all take care of your half the county, and I'll take care of my half of the county. But there's a lot of things coming, and it's coming with businesses, for jobs, homes for our folks, better homes than what they've had in the past. And all these things are going to come together, but it takes time. And if I could snap my fingers and it happened, you'd be amazed at what showed up out there, and have jobs and all for families that are going to live in that area, because they've been basically set aside for many years. So hopefully we can get that turned around and have the right kind of things in that neighborhood. And I'm going to continue to fight for just that. So,
Mr. Chair, Newton Athy, Mayor Pro Tem City of Dade City. I just wanted to piggyback off a couple of comments that were made here today. It sounds like really what we have is a 3-part issue. First, identifying what new facilities and amenities are needed on the east side, and sounds like specifically Northeast Pasco, enhancing the existing programming at our current facilities, and then obviously how do we pay for it. I was very impressed when I went out to the Boys and Girls Club for a county workshop on what the community wants to see in Northeast Pasco and in the Lacucci area. I was very impressed by all the services that are offered there. But if there is a way for us to enhance the programming at that facility, it is a great facility, and I'd love to see some more use for it. And as far as the necessity of new facilities, I was also not here when Hercules Park was decommissioned, but I do understand it was because of the operational expenses associated with it. So obviously don't want to end up in a position where we construct something and then it ends up being too expensive for us to run it, and then we're in a worse position than we were before. But if we can find some private partners to work with us about staffing and offering programming and then constructing new facilities, that seems like it would also be kind of the route to follow. Thank you.
Yeah, I think pools are difficult, and it was very difficult having those shut down, but to see the way they actually went that huge capital investment was made and then just thrown away. We don't want to see that again, so that's why you probably see some consciousness. I will say, Keith, with the pool out there, I think we need to make a competitive pool. So it's huge. It's tourist development should be kicking in money with that, and as tourist development chair, if you want to bring that item forward when you go further with your plans, I'm happy to drive that forward, because we don't want, like Land O'Lakes Pool, you can't run a big event there, right? And they got a lot of competitive swimmers there. So if we can make it a competitive pool, they can run tournaments out there, that's definitely where we need to go, and tourist development should be able to help out. And with the funding that they have, that helps make it happen. So let me say this to the, other than Dade City, if you don't have impact fees in place, I recommend you get them in, especially if we're going to talk about doing parks and joint projects together. When you have growth coming in, it pays its way by these impact fees. I've had people that move here that they've told me, just because of between our school impact fees, park impact fees, library impact fees, they know we're committed to the investment of those features, and they will spend the money on. They know it's cheaper to live here than usually elsewhere. So to make those investments, you wouldn't be hurting your citizens to go put those things in place. And if we can work cooperatively with you to help make it happen and fund these great projects, like Commissioner Oakley says, it takes so long to get these things done, it's the easiest way to go do it. We can always work on other things to go work on funding for maintenance and running of the operation, but I really think the Lakuchi situation is something we're going to get done very quickly.
So Dade City does not have impact fees?
No, Dade City does. We do. Yeah, they're working with us.
Who doesn't have impact?
No, we charge a park impact fee.
Oh, you do?
We do, yes.
Oh, I asked that. I didn't get
Yeah.
that.
Sorry, yeah, I started with utilities and transportation, but we also have park as
Oh,
well.
you do? Okay,
Yes,
well,
sir.
great. All right. Now, are your numbers close to where ours are? The
I have
new
to go
numbers we're
check.
going to go to?
To where your new numbers, no.
Okay.
I think they're closer to your existing numbers.
Okay, so I would closely work with you to say, let's get them all up the same, so that as people are going to go, no matter where they go, it's going to be the same thing, and that'll help us all. All right, good. Good news. All right. All right, anything else about the Zephyr Hills pool situation? Which did expand itself quite a bit.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
so
we
let's
say
go-
Zephyr Hills, but it's an East Pasco,
Yeah, I know,
East
I know.
Side asking.
I'm just going with what I got in front of me here. All right, now let's talk about growth and planning. Back to Zephyr Hills again. There's a joint planning area, growth management, and CRA report.
Yep, I'll have Todd Vanderberg, the planning director, to address the joint planning and the growth management, and then Gail Hamilton, our CRA director, will come up and do the CRA report.
Awesome.
Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, just want to share some planning growth management items to the group here today and with some of the county staff that are here. It's a good time to go over some of these. I think both cities, Dade City, Zephyr Hills, and of course Pasco County, we're all updating our comprehensive plans. And I think everyone's seeing and hearing and realizes all the growth and development that's occurring. So the tasks that we have for this comprehensive plan we view as very important to address some of the ongoing issues that both the cities and county are dealing with. And we had JPA on the agenda today, and I know that interlocal agreement was done a long time ago. So I think I've spoke with Elizabeth Blair, with county attorney staff, and we're open and do need to revisit that, the joint planning area boundary for the city of Zephyr Hills, and then how it relates to the utility service area with our water and sewer as well. But back to the comprehensive plan with the county, I know the city of Zephyr Hills, we're very interested in meeting with the county's consultant and planning team and in having that collaborative effort as we update our comprehensive plan to communicate with Pasco County some of the issues that we're facing with growth and development in and outside of our city, close to the JPA boundaries, and as we begin our visioning for our comp plan process. So, and then the VOPH is another topic that's been brought up. It periodically comes up, and I think, I personally have had some discussions on that with, I see David Goldstein here, and we understand that the VOPH has a master plan, an infrastructure plan, and a fiscal plan that goes along with that. And I just want to share that, there's been some issues with annexations, and we fully, appreciate that fiscal plan, and perhaps we can continue some discussions on areas where it does make sense for us to annex in. If it's in the JPA, maybe there's a way they pay our fees, but then they're still responsible separately to come up with fees associated with the VOPH fiscal plan. So those fees are being accounted for, and it doesn't impact Pasco County. Yeah, so in VOPH, we've had some areas that are annexing in, and I would say that's the area of Cossack Road and 301. And I met with Terry as well. I think, in my mind, you have that countryside district where the county and the master plan proposes to keep that all very rural. And however, there may be some wiggle room where it does make some sense, like close to the major intersection of Cossack and 301, where perhaps the county and city planning staff work together and come to an agreement on development trends in that countryside area while still respecting the intent of the master plan for that. So we'd like to have some further discussions with your legal staff and planners on that. And continuing on that VOPH, we work with Terry and his team and Dade City and Zephyr Hills. We created the North 301 Corridor Vision and Land Use Strategy. Work with some planning consultants on that as well. We kind of identified that as a priority area, unique topography features, and interested in having sort of a development plan that both cities at the bookends and Pasco County be working in unison to. We broke that 10-mile corridor up into 10 character districts with different standards and names for each of those character districts, and kind of the goal and vision was to try to protect the hilltops, the view sheds, and try to promote conservation subdivisions and try to have a little different level of development that would take advantage of that unique corridor. So, I mean, we've started it. Now's a great time. I know we're going to be putting in our comprehensive plan. Hopefully the county does the same thing. That vision, some goals, objectives, and policies that support that 301 corridor vision land use strategy. And then we'd like to take that next step beyond getting in the comprehensive plan of working with the county to continue implementation through codification. So yeah, that's on the north side of the city. We'd like to do something similar on the south end of town. Our city boundary limits in at C Avenue. A lot of redevelopment opportunity. Y'all see what's happening by 56. So I think the county and the city can benefit by having a strategic development plan or redevelopment plan from our boundaries all the way down to 56. So I think that makes some sense for both entities to take a look at. And then with our back to the comprehensive plan, working with the county, we're getting a lot of residential like you folks. We're at 42% residential right now. It's getting a little high in our opinion. But we'd like to look at future areas of development, plan for development that are close to our boundaries, but in the county, and probably collaborate with the county planning staff to kind of see what your vision is. We could share our vision and try to collectively come up with some ideas in the comprehensive plan process update of kind of talking about where we're going to grow, what's it going to be, what's it going to look like. We're hearing the challenges probably that the county staff are, man, we got way too much high-density residential, 4-story apartments, and 40-foot wide lots, 5-foot side yard setbacks. And I know you guys are starting to look at that too, and we're going to do the same thing as part of our comp plan visioning of trying to figure out how we want to grow, what it looks like.
Yeah. Now, those who don't know, Todd's been around for a long time. Matter of fact, Todd and I took Leadership Pasco 2003.
2003,
The
best it'll ever be, right?
You got it. So your experience is great. So we've seen a lot of good stuff coming up, and we want to make sure we're looking for it. But I appreciate your service all these years. You've been awesome. Commissioner Starkey.
Just so you know, and I don't know where we are on this yet, hopefully we're moving along. The county is working on a workshop to look at the form-based code, which might be very advantageous for all the cities to participate as well. Mr. Administrator, how far along on that path are we? Put them on the hot seat. So,
when we're very interested in help assisting with that, we were the first city in Pasco County to adopt a form-based code, so we have one in place, and
Nice.
we're happy to share our experiences, and we're at a point where we want to actually probably learn from some of our lessons and redo ours, but we're happy to help you folks with that.
great. Well, I think our board is looking forward to our meeting, and hopefully sooner rather than later, and certainly want all the cities to participate.
And I'll just finish with our industrial corridor. I think everyone in the county knows that's a real asset, not only for the city, but for Pasco County and the investments, assistance we've got to upgrade our airport. We've had a lot of help with David Engel, who I think is here today, helping us with some fiscal impact analysis with residential land, industrial land trying to convert to residential land. So we think that's a high priority where the city and the county need to work, probably continue working. We've started an industrial corridor master plan, but we'd like to continue those efforts. And I think it's something the city and county should be working on together, some additional next steps. So we'd like to work with your team. And David, again, has been very helpful in answering fiscal questions that we've had. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with the group today. Appreciate it.
And Todd, thank you very much. And I tell you, we had studied very closely what's the best sites for big economic projects, and the airport was one, which is why we stepped up to $2.3 million to help with the infrastructure to get in place. So we're a big fan of what you've got down there, that asset, trying to help you grow, because that rail line there runs all the way up to 301 right through Dade City. It connects to the rest of the nation. So we do get the importance of that infrastructure investment, and want to help you guys grow, because as it goes stronger and stronger with all the commercial, all the industrial we can get, the more jobs we create, the better off we are. I want to bring one thing to you to think about for obviously for everybody. Ridge Road Extension was a 20-some-odd year project. We had to go through the Army Corps and many, many things. So we opened up the first section to the Suncoast. 41's coming up shortly thereafter. When I saw that the county had an agenda item, I want to say a month ago, to go study from Overpass Road all the way to 301, I said, great, we need to go do that. But I also want to go take a look at from Overpass Road as well, all the way out back to 41 through Connerton to make that Ridge Road connection. That will give us another east-west all the way across the county, so wherever you're going, takes the stress off 52 and 54 going forward. So if you would keep an eye to that, keep watching it. I brought it up at the last MPO meeting. It didn't take the legs, but I think we're moving forward. But if you guys would take a look at that and kind of put your impetus with maybe Senator Burgess, et cetera, it'll probably be helpful for us all. Sure. Okay. And you want to speak?
Yeah, it's on. Good morning. Hi, I'm Gail Hamilton. I'm the CRA director for the city of Zephyr Hills. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to the county about today is code enforcement. For the CRA, one of the best tools in our toolbox is code enforcement. Unfortunately, in Zephyr Hills, one side is in the city and the other side of one side of the street is in the city and the other side is in the county. And you're not sure if you're in the county or the city, and it is frustrating for some of our residents, our businesses. Now, we've had some success with the county as far as on the south end of town with the help of Commissioner Oakley. We were able to clean up a junkyard, I guess is the word to use for it. But what we understand from the county staff is that code enforcement is reactive, not proactive. You have the same issues we do, short-staffed, lots of roads to cover, lots of area to cover. But from the south end of town, if you come out of 56 and you want to go right or left, if you look towards Zephyr Hills, it's not a pleasant view, and code enforcement could make a huge impact on the entrance to our town. So if there is a way that we can work together to create, even if it's a day a month that county and code enforcement comes to the east side of the county, that would be tremendous for us.
Commissioner Ron Oakley, I agree with you, and we've done some work there, but we can do more. So there's no doubt in my mind that we can do more, and it'll get better. As that road there gets widened and goes on out to 56, there's a lot of good things that happen in that roadway. They clean that up and make it better. So I'm very willing to help, and if you want to set up meetings, just call in my office and we'll come. So
that'll be great.
Yeah, I have a good relationship with Zephyr, all my cities actually. So in Zephyr Hills, they know me as Uncle Ronnie, and Dade City, they know me as Ronnie.
When I first looked at you.
And most of the other cities, St. Leo and St. Anne, they know me as Ronnie. But Uncle Ronnie's because their county attorney is my nephew. So, but I've gone there several times. I brought David Engel has also been there with us. We've tag teamed the city a little bit to try to help you see what would be the better for the city of Zephyr Hills and how to make things work better for you. Because, like you say, you're getting close on a number of residents that you have in that community. And if you get too much of the residential market and not enough industrial, you'll not only be the largest city and they are right now, the largest city in Pasco County, but you'll be the largest city with the highest taxes. In fact, because you need that industrial, that mix to save you and bring in monies that are not just struggling for, too much expense on a dollar. So, but yeah, I'm ready to do more if we can, and I'm not going to try to speak out of turn on FDOT carrying 56 south and back around, but I've had some good visits with some of them that suggest that maybe some of that idea I had to help take care of stormwater issues and things of that nature through Crystal Springs to come back into the city. And it'll just bring them into the fold of basically Zephyr Hills, because you'll have better road and all to service that area, and we'll be able to go Pasco, we'll be able to provide services there that we can't right now because of roadways. So, but there's a lot of good things happening there in DC, and a lot of growth happening right there in South Zephyr Hills on 301 and all, where we're talking about. So, okay, that'll be fine. Right.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mr. Chair, Jim Shive, that's a very valid point, Gail. In Dade City, we have a gateway coming in on 52. There's a lot of area as you're coming into the city that looks pretty bad. On the north end, near the business center, along the 301 corridor, there are several dilapidated properties. Even a gas station that's not been in use for more than 20 years, I think, which really, I'm not really sure what the rules say about that as far as the tax, but it looks pretty bad. But I know that we've worked with the county in the past. I would like to continue to work, but gateways are very important when you have a small city. You're trying to have a lot of revitalization going on and a lot of growth, and you get calls and people say, hey, is it safe in Dade City? And they're coming down 41 or North 301. So it does have an impact on the city, but I appreciate anything the county could do to help alleviate some of those issues that we would have our code enforcement get with the county.
Okay. Just to answer talking about gateways, go back to rebuilding Trail Lacoochee and Trilby. That's a gateway into our county from Hernando County. So it's important up there to make things, there's nothing wrong with good planned growth. And I think we can make that gateway into our county much better. And it's just the start of coming from Lacoochee into Dade City and then on to Zephyr Hills. We need to make all that very important about how we address that planning there and make sure it's the right way. So, but I don't know if you realize this or not, but 75 or 80 years ago, Lacoochee was one of the biggest communities in Pasco County. And a lot of people don't realize that today. But when it shut down 63 years ago, it dried up that community. And we have a lot of good families and all that live there. And we need to look at that plan and plan it right so we grow it back to being a community like it has been in the past. So That'd be good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Commissioner Starkey.
Yeah, so on code enforcement, so I'm the, Holiday and the 19 corridor is part of my, my territory, so I'm very active with code enforcement, and my staff and the county, everyone hears it all the time from me. I don't think we have enough code enforcement officers, and I do think we need to be proactive, not reactive. That takes more code enforcement officers, and I'm trying to establish code officers that are more commercial oriented too and specialize in that. When I drive over here, you know, I see that there's a lot of new development in, say, Wiregrass, Wesley Chapel. And I promise you, and I saw it on my drive over here, that within 3 years' time, their landscaping will be gone. Or will not look anything like it looks when it opens up. And if you could picture driving along State Road 56 with no landscaping, that's what you see in a lot of Trinity. They have cut the trees down to be hedges, or they trim into the little 2 foot, they're 2 foot higher than the hedges, these little trees, or they just take them out. We literally had a gas station in Starkey Ranch that opened up and within a month took out their oak trees that were planted, and, you know, and if there hadn't been a commissioner that called it in and said, what happened? They wouldn't, you know, no one would have noticed, and they would have not had to replace the trees. So it takes a lot of work to stay on top of that. And we're working on ways to be diligent about enforcing some of the codes that we have. I would also say that we just redid our sign ordinance. So any business is only allowed to have one temporary sign, not these, you know, 15 or 20 flapping flag signs. So if you see something like that, call it in. You know, you're going to have to be a little proactive until we get our own proactive code enforcement team. And if you see a sign that is broken or a business that's out of business in the county, you can call that sign in to our department. They'll come out and take a photo of it and document it, and after 6 months, that sign's going to have to come down. And they will have to, when a new business comes in, they will have to conform to our new sign ordinance, which is 11 foot, which is still big, 11 foot by 22 foot monument sign. It's humongous. But we work very hard in my district on the west side to get rid of the old signs and to get them all conforming. And we are working hard, and David's got a program where we're helping businesses who never had any landscaping get a grant from the County Tree Mitigation Trust Fund to come in and get some landscaping. Because, you know, if you're in real estate, you know, if you want to sell your house, the first thing you do is spruce up your landscaping. And if you have a county that is not looking its best, it's not so good. So something I'm very diligent about. And one thing I want to touch on, and before we leave, is homelessness. And we have a big issue on the west side. And if you don't, I know you have some issues over here, but I'm telling you, they're coming. And so we are a county that has no low barrier shelters and some other issues. And we are working on some solutions. And but the solutions need to be on the west side, and they also need to be on the east side. The west side cannot be the solution for all the homeless people in the county. So as we look for solutions, we will make sure that there's some on the east side and some on the west, and central, you know, too. They need to be regional solutions. So I don't know if you want to touch on homelessness.
Commissioner Bradford.
Gary Bradford, Pasco County. I also want to point out to all the stakeholders in the room that code enforcement, code compliance officers, just for this room, so you know, our administrator and his team made the decision to have code enforcement not go into the homeless camps in areas because of their safety. They found weapons in there, firearms. Our personnel are not armed. So in the interest of their own personal safety, we had to have them move back. So then that presents a whole nother set of challenges. So that's where we're at on the west side, in my district, and Commissioner Starkey's district, Jack's district. When you get to that level, then it gets dangerous. So as we look to expand and make our programs more robust, we all have to keep in mind their safety and what we're going to do to augment their safety. You might not have a safety problem with code compliance in Zephyr Hills right now, but what Catherine said was it's coming. So we all have to collectively understand that, and everybody's got to have skin in the game when it comes to their safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nate Nathie, Mayor Pro Tem City of Dade City. I wanted to address a couple of comments that Mr. Vandenberg made, and I wanted to thank the County Commission for their discussion last month about going to a form-based code, and also the concerns that were raised about the proliferation of 40 and 50-foot lots with 5-foot side yard setbacks.
And a 10-foot driveway.
Yeah, and a 10-foot driveway.
Doesn't work.
From a city perspective, it is very, very helpful for the commission to say those things, because then when we have developers come to us, obviously the sort of implied alternative to anybody developing in the city is to say, well, we'll just run to the county and we'll get what we want out of the county. So when the county commission says those things, it gives us a bit of teeth to say, well, no, you're not going to run off to the county because they're not going to give you what you want. So you're going to sit here and you're going to talk to us. In Dade City, we are rewriting our comprehensive plan this year. So I'm very interested to watch that workshop at the county level regarding form-based codes and how y'all, the steps y'all take to address the small lot sizes, small side yard setbacks. Because whatever y'all do, I mean, to the extent that we can do it in our city, I think that's a good idea. So I wanted to take some time and thank y'all for that. As far as code enforcement goes, I'm sure code enforcement is also at the county level. I know at the city levels, they're swamped. It's overwhelming. I was a prosecutor in Tampa before I went into private practice. I handled 600 cases, and the cases, if you wanted something done on a case, like you needed to pick up the phone and call me because there was just not enough hours in the day for me to devote an equal amount of time to each and every single case. So it is very important to maintain communication with code enforcement, politely but firmly. But it's an issue I think that local government at all levels faces. So thank you all.
And code enforcement is, as it's reactive, and the state's made it a little bit harder, make it we can't put an anonymous complaint in. We're trying to change that. Hopefully that changes. But I will say that Christy Wooden and Patrick Moore for dilapidated structures, et cetera, did a phenomenal job for several years. As they were both exiting out, it slowed down. Christy Sims, yeah. But I will say the new people we have coming that are in now, they're on top of it. They're sharp, and I think you'll see better work on the dilapidated structures in the future. And I'm glad you brought up as far as the issues that we have with our code people going into these homeless camps. I'll give you an example. We had an ALF coming in right off US 19 in Hudson, and there's a gentleman that's out there who's got to cut down some trees to go get it surveyed, just going to actually doing the survey work for it to come in, and he's not attacked, but threatened with machetes by the homeless people in there. We went in there, we cleaned it all out, right? They come back in 2 months later, they're back in stronger force and they feel like they're empowered. It's so bad, the term is being used now, they're calling themselves urban outdoorsmen. It's scary at this point. And now the danger part, which we really have to be careful of our code people going in there. So now I think it's smart that we don't go in there without the sheriff's office, and I think for the cities, you need to have your police to go in there with them as well, and it's got to be handled strong. Our county attorney's given us a list of like 8 different reasons why you can't have homeless people there, all code violations that we have. I'd be happy to share that with you. What we have, you can do the same to make it easy. We put the trespassing agreements in place. Some of them are out-of-town people. We're working right now in discussion we just had this week with our attorneys is to try to find out how do we cite these people even if they live over in the Philippines, even if they're over some other city, even if it's a business now, which is actually easier to cite we can start doing it. So we're gonna start cracking down with it. I think we're engaged even better now with the sheriff's office with us to actually attack this problem. But it's gonna be something that everybody's gonna do it, because if the county just does it, the cities don't do it, where are they gonna go? To the city. So we all gotta kind of be, I think, extensively on this every step of the way from the get-go. Yes?
James Hallett, as we close, I would like to thank all of you for the high quality discussion we've had today, not only very positive toward the town of St. Leo, but certainly for Dade City and Zephyr Hills as well. On behalf of them, I'd like to thank you, and especially the willingness to discuss very openly and honestly issues involving social justice. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to say, too, I probably should have opened better with this, but I wanted to kind of get us to where we got to go, and time is pretty close. But I want to say I think it's great that we have this meeting. I'm glad that you all have showed up, not only just the elected folks, but your staff to support, to have a dialogue when you can discuss what's going on. And everybody in the room, I think we all learned a lot today about the intricacies of every city, every county. So all that information helps us better as leaders to go out there and serve our people, to address things that can be solved, but if we don't know about it, it's hard to solve it. So I appreciate every one of you for taking the time out. I mean, as county commissioners, pretty much we're full-time what we're doing, but as city council people, I know you're not. So to have a 10 o'clock meeting and have you guys show up through this period of time, I want to tell you I greatly appreciate you taking your time extra to come out here and do this. Commissioner Oakley.
I'd just like to add something to that. I'd like to thank all the cities, Zephyr Hills, Dade City, St. Leo, and San Antonio, for the ones that have come to be with us and sharing this. But we're all individual commissioners. I can always tell you that we come from different locations in the county, but we all come together, we listen, we offer advice, and then at the end of the day, we end up voting together for what's best for our citizens. So I thank y'all for coming today, because it's very important. And when you realize that all of this takes one district, which is mine, but this is very important to me, and it's very important to our other commissioners, because we all want to know what's happening in our districts, because no one vote gets anything done. But as being able to work together, then we can solve issues together. And we got a great staff in Pasco County that helps us do the things we need to do for each of you. So. Okay.
Thank you. To piggyback on Commissioner Oakley, you have a tremendous advocate in Commissioner Oakley, and representing east of 41. I double down on what Commissioner Oakley says. Please use our offices as a resource. And you have two strong commissioners for East Pasco, all Pasco County, but East Pasco County. And we both sit on Tampa Bay Water. Commissioner Oakley is our chairman, and which is a really unique opportunity for us as well. So any issues with water, we both were members of Swift Mud at one time. Use our offices and what we're a part of as a resource, and we're here for you all, and open door policy. So thank you.
All right. Commissioner Starkey?
I would agree. I love these meetings where we get to tell you what we're doing, and we get to hear from you about what you're doing. I think we're kind of lucky in our county that about, what do we have, 7 cities? And so I think of Pinellas County with the amount they have and how hard that must be to do coordination. But I think with the number that we have, it makes it really easy and comfortable to work together. And our citizens don't care. They want the whole county to be good. So there's not a wall between the city and the county. So our doors are open. Any way we can help you, and any way you can help us, it's great that we're all working together for our citizens. Oh, you got one.
Commissioner Brown?
Well, I just want to make available myself and my staff to anybody in the room, especially the cities. I'm over on Little Road. Todd and Paula are my legislative aides. They're getting me up to speed. I am going to have a confession here. I've been a commissioner now 7 weeks and 30 minutes. So when you throw all these terms out, I'm still looking at the terms, but I get the concepts. And I will say this, it's us. It's not you, it's not them, it's us. These are the problems that affect all of us. So if we don't fix them in Newport Richey, eventually they're gonna end up in Dade City. And that's why we should all be in this room every time and have a collaborative effort and a positive attitude. Are we gonna agree on everything? No. But if we can just get to yes, I tell my staff, help people get to yes. That's what it's all about. That's why we serve our citizens. So I'm excited to be a part of the group. I'm open to any of your suggestions, comments, criticisms, and thank you.
Something to add in? Well, let me close with saying, I think the county administrator, Mike Carmelo, is doing a phenomenal job as he's taken over for us. Our county attorney, Jeff Steinschneider's got a strong team. Our whole administration is here to help and try to work together everything we got going through. I think we've done a lot of great things together, and I think with the growth going on, we work together, we're going to make even more great things happen. Before I close, I'd like to say, when we get done, if everybody doesn't mind, I'd like to gather in the center right here and let's take a picture, because I think it's been a momentous day that's going to be, we can look back and be proud of for many years to come. All right. And with that, we're adjourned.